Hello and welcome to another edition of Cosmic Diaries. This is Priya Kale, your astrologer, and welcome to the Sagittarius full moon. The moon is currently in Capricorn as I record this, but we're still coming down from the energy of a Sagittarius full moon. And today I want to talk a little bit, I'll talk a little bit about this full moon, but I've written a report on the Sagittarius full moon covering the aspects and the energy in detail over the next 2 weeks to the end of the month. The new moon in Cancer 2 weeks from now is on the 28th of June, and then on the 1st of July, Mercury stations direct. So I've covered all of that, and in between this, Mars, currently in Libra, is, well, today on the 14th of June, squares Pluto, and then opposes Uranus on the 25th. Venus changes signs, Mercury changes signs. So there's a lot going on in the next 2 weeks. And I've written that out in detail in the Sagittarius full moon report, which is being sent out to subscribers. So if you want to read that, you can sign up for a 1-week free trial and I'll send it out to you. And I'll add the links below, so do check that. But I'll talk a little bit about the full moon right now, but I also want to talk about Sagittarius and Gemini, the Sagittarius-Gemini axis. And because I want these videos to be something that you can watch not just right now, but, months from now or whenever. So, anyway, right now the moon is in Capricorn, moving to a trine to Venus in Taurus tonight. And Venus was in an opposition to Saturn at the time of this full moon. So Sagittarius full moon occurred on June 13th at 12:11 p.m. 12:11 a.m. So just after midnight on Thursday, Friday morning, 12:11 a.m., 13th of June was the full moon. But 3 minutes before that, at 12:08 p.m., Venus made an opposition to Saturn. So, again, I've gone into the details of these aspects in the report, but in brief, there's a sense that when there's Venus and Saturn involved, Venus rules your relationships, commitments, your relationships, your finances, your creative projects, your heart, things that you value, your values. Whereas Saturn represents that sense of a boundary, a limitation, structure, lessons. Saturn is a teacher. Saturn is also a milestone. So when Venus and Saturn are opposite, and then the Earth is in the center, because when we're talking about astrology, we're seeing the universe from the viewpoint of the Earth. So we're observing the planets and their orbits from the viewpoint of the Earth. So at the time of an opposition, well, definitely every full moon, the sun and the moon are exactly opposite each other and the Earth is in the center. So we feel that tension because we're in the middle of two heavenly bodies. And this is true for any opposition, but then depending upon what planets are opposing each other and what signs they're opposing each other, we get a deeper insight into the nature of the energy. So at the time of this full moon, we've had Venus oppose Saturn, and just 3 minutes later, and think about that in cosmic terms, that's nothing. The full moon aligns, so the moon in Sagittarius opposed the sun in Gemini. So there's a sense, especially in relationships, financial situations, we have touched a boundary, and then Sagittarius is the sign of freedom. So once we've accepted our limitations, or once we've decided that we want to commit something, there is a way forward. That's, in essence, the message of this full moon. But now let's look at the full moon, which is the Gemini and Sagittarius axis. Gemini is the sign of duality. It is the sign that rules communication, transportation, your siblings. It's the sign that's ruled by the symbol of the twins. So it's a sign of opposites. But this whole, and then the opposite sign, Sagittarius, is the sign that rules the higher mind. Gemini rules the mind, Sagittarius rules the higher mind. If Gemini rules your beliefs, Sagittarius rules your ideals and religion, philosophy, your sense of perspective, long distance travel, everything international, beyond boundaries. So it's like having a subjective view of a situation and an objective view of a situation, because Gemini will always is a reminder that we're at any given point, it's like night and day. So we're seeing one half of the story. We're not always seeing both sides of the story, especially when you feel very strongly opinionated about something. There's more than likely an opposite viewpoint. So and then that's when polarization happens, which is Sagittarius. So, for example, religion. All of this, it's actually ridiculous that you think about it. People are fighting over God. They're killing in the name of God. How does that even make any sense? But to them, in their head, the mind, it makes complete sense. But that's the thing. The mind is not beliefs. Again, which is Gemini. Beliefs are not reality. Beliefs are not. I can believe anything. I can believe I'm the queen of the universe. It doesn't make me so. And that's why even the positive and the negative thinking, good or bad, when we're dividing, again, when we're doing the Gemini, which is we're saying this is good, that is bad, we're essentially judging something, and we're dividing, and we're not seeing all of reality. So how do we bridge that gap? And that's through communication, communing with another, not to prove a point, but to get a bigger picture, to get a higher picture, which is, again, now if we move to Sagittarius, what does Sagittarius do? It's like being on an airplane and getting a view down below. That's what astrology does. Astrology is ruled by the 9th house. Psychology is ruled by the 9th house. We're trying to get a higher understanding on something. And once we have that perspective, we can see, okay, there's more to a story than we first thought. So, especially right now with the moon full in Sagittarius and Jupiter, the ruler of Sagittarius, is currently in Cancer, the ruler of the moon. So, there are big revelations coming through. For now, the biggest mistake you could make is thinking you know it all. Also, Mercury is retrograde in Cancer, the sign of the moon. So we're learning a deeper truth about something. The more you're able to dive under the surface of your insecurities, your triggered emotional responses, reactions, go to the source and see where they're coming from. Because sure, there are situations that are being played out in your life, but the responses and the emotions that they're triggering are coming from somewhere deeper within, and you can't act necessarily on those emotional responses without examining them or releasing them consciously, because we're in the present. Now again, we're talking about Gemini, which the mind tends to live in the past or the future. It's rarely ever in the present. It's always thinking about something that's happened or something that's going to happen. It's when we find ourselves in a space of concentration or the zone, no matter what you do, what work you do, especially if you're doing any creative work but even any other work. When you're in that space of no mind, where you're just focused. Or in Sanskrit, Hindi, Marathi, we call it dhyan. And dhyan also is another word for meditation. Because there's an absence of the mind, there's an absence of thought. And that's when you're streaming in a higher consciousness, which is Sagittarius. Or you're able to access a higher truth. So Sagittarius, that's the sign that represents knowledge. And, well, more than knowledge, it represents wisdom. Because knowledge, there are a lot of knowledgeable people in the world. You could be very learned, but how are you applying that knowledge? And again, information is available to everyone. It just takes someone who's an earnest seeker. If you want to study, there's I believe even Yale or one of the Yale or Harvard, please, I don't know, that offers free classes online. So it's not that education is always free, but more importantly, what we're seeking now is a higher truth, something that comes from even beyond that, because Sagittarius is the arrow that shoots higher and higher and higher towards God. Sagittarius is the sign that rules God, represents God, or at least what we know of God, because that's the thing. God is, and Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter, again, the king of the gods, but Jupiter also rules Pisces, which is the other sign that represents God. But that's God as an experience, what God really is. Whereas Sagittarius is what we know of God and what we seek to know of God. Or what we can humanly possibly know of God. Whereas when we enter the realm of Pisces, we're entering the realm of reality, which is a deeper experience. So anyway, sticking with Sagittarius for now, even if you don't believe in God, if we're trying to know this universe, because no matter how much even science, no matter how much we know, all the knowledge in the world, accumulated knowledge of all of our generations and ancient civilizations, even then it's still a mere drop in the ocean of reality and this universe and this cosmos. So in a sense, we'll never know it all. But as it is said, I forget where it comes from, but if you know thyself, and you will know the mysteries of the universe. And I'm paraphrasing, but it's true, because we are a microcosm of this cosmos. And at least from your perspective, my perspective, and all of our perspectives, we are the center of our universe. Even the structure of an atom reflects the structure of our solar system. If you don't believe in God, and that's the thing, it doesn't matter what we believe or what we call this energy or this reality that we live in, this cosmos. There is a higher divine plan that we don't always see. And there's a higher reason for events that we don't always see. So especially right now, whatever's going on in your life, there's a sense of needing and wanting freedom. But the Venus-Saturn opposition is also asking for commitment, or then drawing boundaries. But that's the thing. In any situation where you feel like there's an either-or choice, you're not seeing the whole picture. And the only way you can see the whole picture is by communicating. And there is, especially since the sun is in Gemini, so you're talking about having opposite viewpoints, and then Sagittarius is also the sign that rules culture and other cultures. So depending on where you come from, you have your own entire belief system and conditioning that you're having to move past. And especially when you're relating with somebody else who has their own mental conditioning and belief systems that they're coming from. So if you get, in personal relationships, it has to come from the heart, and the communication has to happen to communicate those feelings, and not get caught up in the mental ideas of what something you think something should be like, because both people lose then, and you certainly lose. And what's really being shown right now is that there is a lot of opportunity for us to communicate and get on the same page with others and deepen important connections and go beyond the definition of something to see how much you value something in reality, its presence. Information surfacing over the next 2 weeks. So, and what happens over the next 2 weeks could change everything. And I do mean everything, and it is changing everything, because we're moving into a whole new season of chapter of our lives starting July. And this is just clearing up the past. So look at what's going on in your life right now. You don't want freedom from something. What you want freedom is to be able to be yourself and to be wholly yourself. And for that, it's important that you're able to share yourself and honestly. That means you have to be honest with yourself first. And then it's not about getting caught up in your ideas of relationships or what a relationship should look like, or getting caught up in the words and definitions of a relationship. Look at who or what is in front of you. Look at how are you growing from this relationship? Are you learning from this relationship? What is this situation teaching you? And then understand that relationships are a choice that we make, not just once, but in every day, in every given moment. Because just because you're committed to someone and you're married to someone, or let's say you're in a traditional marriage, and it doesn't mean that there won't be other attractions. Sure, you will always meet people that you might be attracted to. The point is, are you in that moment choosing to be honest with yourself and everybody else in your life, so you can honor and respect all of your relationships? Even if, whether or not you choose to stay with someone, how are you respecting a relationship enough so that you can offer each other the freedom? And then only when there are relationships that are made in freedom, where both people choose to be there out of their own free will, those are the only relationships that will go the distance, because then you're there out of your choice and not out of obligation. And the best respect you can give to another and would be being honest with yourself and them about how you feel, and not what you think. Again, moon is in Sagittarius, so it's about your feelings. How do you feel? And then sun is saying communicate that. So then there can be a sense of real moving forward and leaving the past behind and leaving a more difficult chapter behind. And this is true for your financial situations and creative situations as well. When we're studying any axis, or especially at a time of a full moon, and trying to apply it to this full moon, at the end of the day, what you're dealing with is yourself. Every situation that's being reflected outside is actually asking for a resolution within yourself. So you can be at peace with no matter what happens outside. So any sense of duality you're facing, if you're trying to work something out with somebody else, it's not with somebody else. You have to find that point of center between that duality within yourself first. And then you'll automatically see a sense of freedom and an opening of the gates where, and daring to be honest with someone means being vulnerable, where you risk perhaps not getting what you want. But this is not about what you think you want. This is just about being honest about how you feel, and then trusting that what is real will stay in your life. So, so at any given point, you are working all of this out within yourself, and that's perhaps most challenging, but still the most rewarding and easiest way forward. And the whole point is that you look at life and every experience that you have at every given moment, not just today or tomorrow, but whenever, every single day. The planets never align in the same position again. You may have a full moon, but you may not have a full moon in these signs with these other aspects going on. It's never the same sky. And we'll never pass this way again. So stop basing your choices on expectations of what happened in the past or what you want to happen in the future. Look at what's present. See how you feel. Be honest. And you can choose, because that's the only power we really have in this world, is the power of choice. We do not control anything. So, of course, the Sagittarius full moon report, I've actually gotten into the detail of these aspects in this full moon, and a lot more concisely, but in detail. So do check that out, and you can sign up for a 1-week free trial. Coming up really is the Mars-Uranus opposition on the 25th, which is right before the new moon in Cancer, 2 weeks from now. That's why these 2 weeks are so important, and that's why I'm saying read the report. But that's going to be a breakthrough and a real moving forward with a lot of things. So move with awareness. Be conscious, and remember there's a lot more to a story that's still unfolding, and you do not have the full picture. So before you judge or make any rash judgments, be open-minded, and you'll be shown what you need to know, so you can make the choices that you need to make. Because yes, this is what I wanted to say. Sagittarius at the end of the day is wisdom, and wisdom comes from experience, not from something you read in a book. That's knowledge. So wisdom comes from experience, and experience will only come. It's like I can't learn to ride a bicycle by reading a book about riding a bicycle. I'm going to have to get on that bicycle and ride that bicycle. And I may stumble and fall a few times, but eventually I'll get it. Sagittarius is also about journeys. So think about this as we're making a journey. Also, Jupiter is about to change signs. And plan or map your destination for eternity. But at some point, you're going to have to get into the boat and let go of one shore, Gemini, to get to the other side. And the way through is Sagittarius, which is the road to freedom. So, yeah, okay, I will stop here. Thank you for listening as always. I hope you enjoyed this. And do leave me comments, and I look forward to hearing from you and being back with more. Thanks, and ta-da for now.